Welcome back. Of course, you're watching Daybreak. Thank you for staying with us. And if you just joined us, Karibu Sana. The hashtag today is Daybreak at Citizen TV Kenya at Wahiga Mwaura, and 22422 is our SMS line. About 4 days and counting to the International Anti-Corruption Day. The world marks this day on the 9th of December. And of course, that will be this coming Monday. What are your thoughts on this? Bearing in mind, Kenya ranked position 144 out of 180 countries on the Transparency International ranking. And every year, we are told in most developing countries, funds to corruption that are lost are estimated at 10 times the amount of official development assistance. Let me get the thoughts of my guests on matters corruption. I'll start with the Governor of Makueni, Kivutha Kibwana. Again, thank you for staying with us on the program. As the world commemorates International Anti-Corruption Day, in your view, how significant is it, one? And secondly, what are you doing in your county to fight corruption?
Maybe before I answer those two questions, I think EACC estimates per year in Kenya, we lose about 600 billion through corruption, which is 7.8% of our GDP. And of course, I stand to be corrected, but that's some of the data I've read. And I think in terms of recovery, about 11 billion or so has already been recovered. So if we really continue to focus on the fight against corruption, and we are able to minimize the money that is lost, that is the equivalent of like two years of what county governments get, 600 billion shillings. And this goes into showing that this is really a major problem, that if and when we deal with it completely, it is a game changer in terms of the performance of our economy. We are very fortunate working with EACC, working with the KLIF, working with the National Steering Committee to co-host the International Anti-Corruption Day in Makueni coming Monday on the 9th. And we have been walking through a journey with them of really preparing so that it's a very important national and international event. Indeed, yesterday there was a launch of a caravan going throughout all the sub-counties of Makueni, 6 of them, so that there is sensitization about the effects of corruption and what we should do to ameliorate this particular problem. And for me, these celebrations are important in terms of increasingly people are now realizing that the leadership in this country, particularly the president, the anti-corruption agencies, that corruption is not going to be given free rein, so that it really destroys our country. At least there is an awakening. I did a lot of research in corruption matters as a professor of law, and we used to say that the corruption law was not really effective, and that the fight against corruption was like somebody riding her horse and not doing really much to fight against corruption.
Okay, I want you to be a bit more specific, Governor. Now, of course, your county has stood out quite a bit when it comes to matters, citizen participation, etc. But on the ground, sometimes we hear murmurs of matters corruption. How would you respond to that? Are there people in your county who come and tell the Governor, this guy here, we can't get services unless we pay, we can't get access to this? And the EACC report showed that access to services is something residents are struggling with because they have to fork out money for that. Do you get such complaints, Governor?
It's not, because of course in the counties there is both national government and county government, like things
Speak about, I guess, where you are responsible for.
Birth certificates, stuff like that. It's rare to get people complaining in Makueni that they have been denied services because of corruption. Because first of all, we organize ourselves up to the village level. There are development committees. There is no project that is done without people in the county being part of it. And when we we are told that any worker is corrupt, or we discover that ourselves, we sack them. And of course, people complain to EACC and their investigations. Some of them have been people who are not completely truthful. Like in the first cycle, somebody very senior, the Speaker of the Assembly, complained unfairly. And indeed, at the end, a court said that he should himself be taken to court. But I think it's important to say that in every county, at the national level, one cannot say that there is a county where there is no corruption.
Okay.
But it is the magnitude. When they realize that the leadership will not tolerate it, people are careful. And when people are caught, like in Makueni, even senior people, we ask them to go.
There are no sacred cows?
There are no sacred cows.
Okay.
Sacred cows.
I have more questions which I'll come back to you for, but let me bring in Judith now, representing the EACC here this morning. What has 2019 been like in the war on corruption at EACC? I had an EACC official about 2 years ago who came and tried to paint a picture of how much had been recovered, how many court cases were in court. What sort of stats can you give us this morning on the war on corruption?
I think 2019 has been good for EACC in terms of asset recovery, in terms of convictions. Why? Because, as I had earlier put, you know, when we started this war way back in 2003, everybody in this country was like, let's investigate, let's prosecute. Until we woke up and realized, yes, you prosecute somebody, you put them in prison, then what happens to the loot that he took or she took? It's sitting somewhere waiting for them to get out and enjoy. So we took diverse strategies, but for this year, we actually concentrated a lot on recovery. And I can tell you, if you go to our website, just like Professor has said, we've recovered over 11 billion. And that is just within a period of, I think, between the second quarter of the year, which was July, and now. And it has just been amazing in terms of recovery. We recover, we give it back to the institutions we are recovering for, consolidated fund, like the money that will be coming soon, the 113. There are those matters. Recently, we had a judgment of 300 million, unexplained wealth. Just the day before yesterday, 25 acres were recovered on behalf of the Rift Valley Harvest. It's, I think it's a college in Nakuru. 25 acres was recovered. Then recently, again, we returned property worth 1.2 billion to Nairobi University in February. In terms of conviction, the same thing. DPP has also gotten that strategy of they prosecute, they also recover, what we call conviction-based. The minute that you're convicted, the court orders what you took 3 times must be returned.
Must be returned.
Must be returned.
What would you say have been the challenges or frustrations in the war on corruption?
One, backlog. There are cases that you must queue. Okay, I actually must give props to judiciary because they set up the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Division, but that is for the civil. When we have land matters, they must queue with the rest. Now, you file a matter today in the land court, the next time that matter will even get a mention is 2021 December. So by the time you even are ready with your witnesses, it's 2022 end. So once you start queuing like that in court, knowing that our witnesses get threatened, can get compromised, then there's a problem. Have
you written to CJ Maraga? Have you written to JSC? Have you written to the presidency
yes.
to ask to strengthen the judiciary so that cases can be heard sooner?
Well, you see, they say that we are all litigants, so there's nothing special about us. And the Constitution is very clear. Land matters must go before the land court, unlike the rest which go to our division. And a good example is the case you've cited here. We started in 2017, now we are done. It was actually had back to back. I think it was lodged in 2018. Within 1 year, we were done. But because of the speciality of the land court, and that is where the majority of the cases are, you find that we have to queue with the rest of the litigants.
You have to queue with the rest of the litigants.
But we are hoping that the president will appoint at least a few judges, the ones that were recommended to him. So at least the ones that are not tainted, at least the matters can move.
Okay. Yeah. Bishop Wakavu, let me bring you in as well. And you started by talking about some of the things that you're doing from a curriculum perspective and so forth. But in a country that is deemed to be very religious,
right.
Okay? And then the people who are religious, many of whom I believe you will see marched into courts and possibly accused of corruption, etc. Do you ever ask yourself whether what religious leaders are doing on the pulpit is effective or not?
Thank you so very much, Wahiga. Sometimes it's frustrating because here you are, for a long time, you've been preaching and telling your people the right way to go, and you find they are not yet there. This is a process, Wahiga. Fighting corruption cannot be an event. It's a process. And it's like when you are diagnosed that you are sick with a particular disease, it didn't just suddenly come to you. It was progressive. Possibly you have not been eating right, or possibly you have been, you know, and for the disease to get out of you, it will also take time. So we are not giving up. We feel like we should continue hitting at this rock called corruption, and we know it's going to break. It's going one day to give way.
There are those who say that for religious leaders to be convincing enough to their congregants that they are taking the war on corruption seriously, that they need to tackle the corruption that is in their midst, amongst their members, almost whistleblowers. We are seeing people whistleblowing now in the civil service. And so would you say that that is something that can happen?
Yes, you are asking, Wahiga, whether there is corruption in the religious circles. Even
in religious circles.
And in the leadership. And the answer is yes, it has been there. Last year, we joined with the private sector, and we held a big anti-corruption conference at Bomas of Kenya. And it sent reports. And we were asked, do we have corruption in the religious sector? And we said yes. And we have had a time of self-reflection. And what we are saying is, we ought not to point fingers and start blame games. What we are saying, Wahiga, is that in the house called Kenya, there is an intruder. There is a snake called corruption. So what we first must do is to collaborate with government bodies, with administration, with the religious fraternity, and search out this snake in the house and get rid of it, and then we will ask ourselves who left the door open or the window, and next time we shall not allow. So it's work in progress. And for example, right now we are gathered about 400 religious leaders in Fungamano House, and we started a conference yesterday because the religious leaders sat together and they came up with some framework 2 years ago on reconciling and restoring Kenya through structured dialogue. And among the many things we identified in our framework is that corruption is a big vice. And so we've been praying, we've been having internal conversation, and we have been saying no to corruption. You remember the Catholic Church, through the leadership, they had the Subukia Declaration, and they are observing. They said no, and they actually took a vow that they are not going to be involved in corruption. So it is a process, and we also, with the conjunction with EACC and the Steering Committee Against Corruption, we've come up with some tools, a booklet that we wrote together that is having messages supported by scriptures from different religious. And
you believe this is an effective method of fighting corruption?
It is, because, you know, let me tell you, if you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you, Wahiga, you have pneumonia, and he will tell you, please keep warm, or whatever disease he may find in you, he will tell you kindly, eat right, do this and that. It's up to you, because already the doctor has
given the prescription out.
Given the prescription. And I want to thank the Fourth Estate, because you have also been with us as stakeholders. We are having a press conference this afternoon at Ufungamano. We are saying, Kenya, let's come together and say no to corruption. It's going to be painful, but we will get there.
We'll get there. Yeah. Governor, I've been seeing you scribbling quite some notes. Feel free to share them with us right now. War on corruption in West Pokot, what does it look like?
You know I'm a teacher, you're not supposed to. When you have a pen and a paper, you must write.
You must write.
Thank you for inviting me this morning. As you have been told by my brother, Professor Kifuta Gibwana, the 9th of December this year, starting very early, Monday, we are celebrating and all of us are meeting. Many counties are converging in my county, in the North Rift, and I think some are meeting in Nyandarua, those one in the middle of Kenya here. And then finally in the south of the country, they will be meeting in Makueni. All of us to think as a nation about this fight called anti-corruption, what efforts we have been able to do. But I want to report to you that we have begun a week ago, so many meetings, but we started on Monday, series of seminars, series of meetings in the sub-counties. And yesterday I officially flagged off the caravan that was full of loudspeakers. Now it's like we are preaching. Bishop, we are now preaching.
Very good.
Yeah, against this fight, everybody to hear. Villagers are wondering, what is this? And it is beginning to dawn on them that really this is a disease that each of us must fight. In the local context, you know, people, even West Pokot and North Rift counties were suffering because of cat rustling. Cat rustling is where you just acquire somebody's property and cows without permission. That is still corruption, in other words. So when you see that I have taken somebody's property, taken somebody's land, it's like we are zooming in also on civil servants. Everybody in the village in this country must be able to be conscious. When you move the boundary of land, you are acquiring somebody's land without permission. That is still corruption. So it is really entrenched, and we need to unearth it and put the context as it is in the manner in which it's happening there. In the manner in which it's happening. Governor, yes. some would ask, nevertheless, however, is it not also corruption to have a deputy who doesn't sit in the county? How would you respond to that? I think that one has been answered for several times. You have not convinced enough Kenyans. How would you respond to that? How do I convince when I'm seated with my neighbor here? Yes. Who also knows that I've done the best I could. In fact, everybody knows I now don't pay him salary. And that's the best a governor can do. You cannot sack him or her. The law is very... They are not willing to resign so that you can look for somebody else who can help you. We are working closely with other government agencies to see what does the law say about somebody who has not decided willingly to do that, is not unwell, he has indicated what are the obvious reasons he should leave. So in your view, is that corruption? Is that not corruption? I don't know whether you can call it corruption, because evidently what has he carried? We stopped. Everything stopped. But to be conscious enough that you should be assisting, you should be there working together with your colleagues to offer services. I don't know whether that one can be called corruption or something. Maybe you can assist me to get it. But let's not obstruct me from what I'm telling you here. Okay, but I needed to ask you that question. Okay, finish. Yeah, so let me finish. That really, I think the effort EACC is doing needs to be enhanced and made much better as follows. That we need EACC to be developed to the village. Now they're in two levels. They're in the national arena and they're in the region. I want every county to have a base, so that when they are there, it is easy for people to know, to get, rather than waiting for once in a blue moon they visit. Sometimes people now begin to misunderstand EACC. When they come to do their work, people start running around. We have seen they have come. No, that's not the case. These are people, it's just officers like us who are supposed to be working closely to assist us and be able to, in advance, be able to guide processes of government, be able also to be found in the village. Do the village elders know about it? Do the chiefs, do the ward administrators that we work with, does everybody abide and work with this? Teachers. Like, for example, if we must kill this thing, it is not going to be one day off, because it looks like it's mature. It is very heavy. We need also to go to the grassroots. I have 1,030 ECD centers now. Do I have in the syllabus of these babies where they are being told that there is a monster. They're even told to draw it. It's worse than what they dream at night. So, so those are the things that we are now doing in West Pokot. We are beginning to tell everybody our values, my country, my choice, Kenya. Do I really still remember it? All of us, do we still subscribe to it, or we wait? Everywhere, in my office and everywhere, should people do we know who is who and what is happening? My one, we wait until somebody in some senior ministry, which is here in Kenya, which is supposed to be, this should be the last place where even a rumor of a thief, because this is where all security matters emanate from. Where was this one hiding? You know, so these are some of the things that we need to take it seriously. Go back to our national anthem. Go back to the Kenya we inherited from our forefathers. Okay. Did somewhere say that you are allowed to become suddenly quickly rich from zero to hero and from everywhere to everywhere? So in West Pokot, our officers are aware that being conscious of government property and people's property is key. And there are no sacred cows, which is what no secret cows whatsoever, no secret cow. And I tell you, including myself, if I'm found to have been done anything, you're giving ESCC can come and look at what's going on. And we are working with them. Haven't you been looking at me? Yes. Everybody, yes, even Bishop, you are also being looked at without your knowledge. So that this is what we want to enhance and encourage, including yourself, Wahiga. Yes. You didn't know. No, everything is open. Yeah, you don't know. They go to your account without your permission, and they know it. Yes. And this is that's what I'm saying. Before we look like we are trying to follow everybody, let us be on the ground. This is the message of Kenya. That is very unique. And finally, yes, because I want to read something. Finally, when you give this document to clear people to stand for political position or to be given for officers here. And some people even started, even this one was cleared. What happened? So it means we also need to... I want to give her a chance. She'll respond to that. Oh, she would? She will. Yeah, very good. I'll give her a chance. Let me read some feedback. I'll give her a few minutes to note down those questions that have been asked. But meanwhile, this is what you're saying. 22422 is our SMS line. The hashtag is Daybreak. Let's put that on air. Comment from Eldoret. You say it is unfortunate that the next generation is inheriting a thieving society. There are no signs that anything is getting better. We have just concluded heavily militarized exams because of the same vice. The Western democracies we admire and many yearn to live in were particularly not built out of corrupt practices. Ours will continue to be depressed as we incessantly devour it through corruption. All right, no name, but to say corruption will never end as long as our courts won't act on the corruption cases brought before them. All right, Abel from Eldoret, you say corruption in Kenya is like cancer, which has no cure. We need radical measures to deal with it. Okay, Dorothy Mwoma, you say start an anti-corruption ombudsman office in all the counties for Wananchi to go to for help. Okay, so that's an interesting one. What's happening in the counties? I'll also get something from Madam Shamala on that. John Gimor from Kapenguria, it is impossible to fight corruption when those who are betting it are the same ones organizing the celebration. What we need to strengthen is oversight and those who audit. Why should Senate clear governors whom the auditor had found culpable? Okay, I'd like to hear from the governors on that one. Sir Nixon Dugire from Kindaruma, you say corruption is like a ball of snow. Once it sets rolling, it increases. It's the worst diseases in the world today. However, there is a cure: transparency. Okay, this is what you're saying on Twitter. Let's see. Remember, the hashtag is Daybreak at Wahiga Mwaura at Citizen TV Kenya. Engineer Lazaro says our mode of politics has changed from selling policies to dishing out money, to making everyone from state officials with political ambitions to assemble looting machines. We must change our election laws in order to tame graft. All right. Shonko Andrew says Kenya is still very far from winning the war on corruption. This war needs a multi-criterion approach where all agencies and individuals are involved. Like I applied for a passport 3 months ago and was told, this is Kenya, I know what to do. Okay, you carry on, you say, I think the reason as to why we are failing in this war is because of the long channel of fighting this menace. We need a body that investigates, prosecutes, and judges those involved at once, okay? If one channel is compromised, then it becomes hard to win this war. Judith, you have a lot to respond to. And one final one here. Oh, that was the last one. Okay, that's the last SMS we have, or tweet. Please keep sending them in. 22422 is our SMS line. Maybe I just get one thought from you before we take that break. The question about candidates that were cleared.
Yes.
By the EACC. Anything you want to say on that? Because he's questioned the criteria.
No, it's a good question.
Yes.
It's quite an interesting thing because just last year, there was a petition that was filed by the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. And the question was, is it the IEBC to clear, if you look at our laws, or is it us? For us, they only come for the compliance. Is this candidate, do we have anything against this candidate? Now, just the last elections that we had, we forwarded a whole list to IEBC, telling them, these people, we are either investigating them, ourselves, DCI, because we work closely with them under the multi-agency team. And when we forwarded to them, we expected the laws on election laws to take place because IEBC is actually supposed to look at these candidates one by one. That petition is actually pending in the Supreme Court between EACC and IEBC under the Constitution. I think Professor Kibwana can also comment. When you look at Article 88 coming all the way down, who has that mandate of vetting a political candidate?
But was that the issue in 2017?
Yes. They requested for the list. The list was given of all candidates who were vying for whatever seat, whether MCA, whether governor, whichever seat they were vying for. And a list was prepared.
Who had corruption allegations made against them?
Yes.
Yes.
And we gave out a list.
To IEBC.
A whole list. Telling them so-and-so is being investigated on a certain offense. And you look at it, decide.
Can you reconfirm the number? It was in the...
I think it was huge. I think either it was 200, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But they were supposed to look at it, and the tribunal again was supposed to sit, because there's also the political tribunal. Yes.
And that's where that matter ended?
Well, there's always a ping-pong, whether it is IEBC to clear, whether it is us. But for us, you see, it's an allegation. We investigate. Now, just before elections, if this person is being investigated, the question is, should they be in the ballot? And that is the subject of that petition. It's actually a reference. And Kenya National Human Rights is asking the Supreme Court, can you kindly guide Chapter 6, Article 88, all these questions. Should we have these people in the ballot box when they are being investigated?
Okay. Yes. Thank you for that. We are due for a break. Let's take that break now. When we come back, I've got lots of questions for my guests. And of course, we want to hear your questions and your feedback as well. Please let us know what you think about this topic as the world marks International Anti-Corruption Day on Monday. For Kenya, is it about marking? Is it about celebrating the gains? If you see gains in your view, let us know what your thoughts are about the war on corruption. 22422 is the SMS line. The hashtag is Daybreak at Citizen TV at Wahiga Mwaura. We'll be right back after this short break.